Okay, so today we are going to kind of go over all of the things that we talked about in class. This is Lauren. She's my lovely model. As you can see, we did her hair about almost a year ago and we did a full head of highlights. So we have a ton of bright color on the ends and a lot of like that dark natural color on the top. I kind of picked Lauren today because she's a really good example of what we see a lot behind the chair when someone's wanting a lived-in color. They come about once to twice a year, so you're dealing with a lot of regrowth. So how do you kind of go in, blend all that out to make it look really cohesive and also to, you know, create a pattern and a color that is really easy grow up for them in the future so that they're not having to come in every 4 to 6 weeks. So we kind of did our consultation prior to this, but Lauren parts her hair typically somewhere around the middle, kind of wherever her hair wants to go that day. So we're gonna foil everything as if she parts it in the middle. That way, whichever way she kind of flips her hair, it'll work for us. She also is kind of wanting to do a bronze type of color. So because of that, I'm not gonna focus too much on adding depth or low lights into the ends. Typically, if someone wants to be a really bright blonde and we're doing a ton of foiling up here, I might add that just for some dimension so it doesn't look too contrast to the root. But because we are going in with more of a bronze color, I kind of want to keep some of that brightness in the ends. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and section her hair, and after I section it, we will kind of go over why I sectioned it that way and what the next step is. So you can see the way that we sectioned it today. This is a kind of clean sectioning. I'm not the best sectioner, but you get the idea. We kind of did a diamond point shape section. The main reason why we did it this way is because we want to be able to create a lot of brightness in here and have a little bit more of a diffused type of brightness in here. So that way you get pops of bright when they curl their hair, when they move their hair around. But this has enough of that root diffused out where it's going to be an easier grow up, but you still have the illusion of an overall brightness hair color. I also sectioned it this way because we can kind of heavily focus on some hairline foiling right in here and have a little bit of depth right in here, so that way when she does flip her hair around, we get a little bit more versatility out of the color versus like one heavy streak of color in the front. So today I'm going to start in the back. I usually start in the back because it makes the process a little bit easier. If the back is blonder before the front, you can kind of wash it out. And this way we can kind of focus a little bit more depth in here and get more heavy blonding up in here. Okay, so for this sectioning, we kind of want to focus heavier brightness in the exterior of the hair around the hairline and keeping more of the depth in here. So we're going to be doing diagonal sections as we go up the hair. And luckily, because Lauren has all of this bright color on the ends, we don't have to worry about any sort of tip out or anything like that. So typically, foiling around the hairline can be really tricky because you have no base to go off of. So one thing I like to do is use this clip to help push the tease up. And when you put the weight of the comb into the clip, it helps the foil stay for the initial application. You're gonna apply that. And then from there, you can take the clip out and use your hand as if you're using a balayage board. Diffused little tiny baby foil right here, just so when she pulls her hair up, we have a little bit of brightness. And then for this section, we are going to go in, do a light tease, use our clip, push that up. And then for this one, we're going to hand paint. By hand painting this section, you're not getting saturation through the entire piece of hair. You're just getting the surface of it, so you're creating natural depth underneath, but still connecting the brightness from the root to the ends. one thing that you'll notice when I'm doing this section in the back, that I'm taking larger individual sections. By doing that, I'm basically keeping more depth in the hair, which oftentimes I feel like us as hairdressers, we worry about gaps or we worry about things looking stripy. So we tend to try and take finer sections and overfoil. But when you're overfoiling something that you want to have pops and ribbons of blonde, it actually kind of creates like a blurring effect. Like you don't get that like pop that you typically would want in something like this. And having that depth is actually really necessary to creating a lived-in color that doesn't look basically like a full foil just away from the root. Okay, so now that I have done that pattern to the point of right above the ear, everything left in here outside of the diamond section, that is going to be my pivoting point. I'm going to continue to foil till I get to here, but that's going to be my anchor point with each section that I take. By doing this, we have these pieces designed for when she pulls her hair up, we have some brightness there, but when her hair is down, we have some depth, and that's going to have to do a lot with her face shape, which I'll go into later in the video. But for now, what we're trying to do is keep a lot of depth right in here, but still get some really bright highlight points in here. So now that we're past the ear, we're going to start doing pivot pieces from here, and we're going to do the same size sectioning with the same pattern that we've been doing, where we do one teased weave and one teased hand painting. Okay, so now we're going to start working on the diamond section that we had sectioned out earlier. The main thing for something like this is you want to basically mimic what the sun naturally does. So as you pull your hair back, the front of your hair naturally is going to be a little bit brighter. That's just typically what the sun does to our hair, and anything with lived-in color is essentially mimicking what happens in nature. So what I'm going to do is at these points, that is going to be my first section I'm going to work on, and then this last piece I'm going to break down into two sections. The first section, I'm going to do bigger individual sections and more of a tease. As I get to the middle section, finer sections, less of a tease. And then once I get to the final section, I'm going to do an even finer section than that, but also do no teasing. By doing that, you are going to create a natural transition from depth to lighter in a way that is cohesive and connects to everything that is underneath the hair. Instead of doing hand painting for this, outside of the weaving, I'm going to take slices and tease that. For this first piece, I'm going to do a weave because I want to do a natural transition from the depth to the lighter piece. I'm going to start the tease right where the blonde finishes on the brunette. The heavy saturation for the base. And as I get to this part, I'm going to feather it up. You're going to do that same application for each section. This is about the largest size you want to go. Anything bigger than that is going to make it look really blocky. Again, starting from the blonde. If you have any hairs that are in your foil, you can always just kind of comb them up and push it into the rest of the hair. Okay, you're going to continue that all the way up to the last section that you clipped. Okay, so for this next section, I'm going to take halfway between this point and where I finished this last section. I'm going to clip this off. and then continue to work my way to the front. I will be doing the slice and the weave, again, as I did behind here, but I'm going to take about half of the size in between each foil as I did last time. So this is the approximate size you're going to want to take for this middle section, and you're going to be doing the same pattern as you did before. But make sure it's even. Again, teasing from the blonde. And then for this section, you want full saturation through the whole piece that you have versus keeping it light saturation at the top and heavy saturation down here. We're going to continue this till we get to the next clip. Okay, so now we are on our final section of the top of the diamond. What I'm going to do is, this is something that's specific to every client individually. I'm going to go in and look at where their hairline essentially is receding to the point where they have all of these baby hairs. And that's where I want to section off specifically for hairline foiling. So everything that is left between here and here, I'm going to foil separately for hairline foiling, and then the remainder is going to be the last bit of this diamond section. So for Lauren, that hits right about there. So really we have just this tiny bit left, and then I'm going to continue a similar pattern from the front, but I'm going to be doing it from a different angle. So based off of the thickness of this, I'm going to do 2 more sections, and then we will get to the hairline foiling.